All right, I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get started, ladies, and hopefully there'll be some other people to join in, but I don't want to keep you guys too long today. So Victoria, I'm gonna, you guys actually don't have to mute. This is actually, you can unmute as you go along, or it sounds like you might be driving, Victoria. So, just do what you have to do. But I do want this to be a very open discussion type of presentation. So, feel free to answer and chime in. Well, welcome to The Problem with Salespeople. This title makes me laugh. I get excited when I get the thought of presenting this type of content because, I like to consider myself a solution-oriented person. And in general, when we think about problems, you want to try to find some solutions. And just in case you all don't know about me, I have a little over 20 years, actually close to 25 experience in sales. Marketing and, of course, content creation came a little bit later in my career, but I have a degree in marketing from Radford. And these are all of my community involvements as of right now. I think the only one I left off the screen is a local group called Metropolitan Business League. And, I love this business. I love what we do. I love being in Stone. I love being a woman in Stone. And I'm happy you guys are here with me. I've got quite a lot of experience to share. So the idea behind this presentation is stating the problem, finding and talking about a solution, and then what we need to do to put that into action. And you guys, Davina and Victoria, are both actual salespeople, so this is awesome. This presentation was designed for both salespeople and managers, and I'm really excited about this screen right here for everybody to review. Has anybody ever seen the show Suits? You never watched Suits? Okay. It is on Netflix. It is on Netflix. Welcome, Dylan. We've already gotten started, so just come on in and feel free to chime in. I'm going to do an icebreaker here shortly. Well, oddly enough, the concept behind those 4 types of workers came from me watching Suits over the summer because I'd never seen it before and I just started watching it. And one of the characters named Louis Litt, he talks about being a grinder for the firm, and they didn't talk about any of the other ones, but it hit me and I was like, you know what? I was like, that. Started doing some research, started looking into it, and man, does this apply to all of us. So take a couple minutes, and we'll go through these. I don't want to read to you, but the grinder is somebody who literally just chunks out sale after sale, and they are tiny. They're not necessarily looking with their eyes wide open for a bigger picture perspective, but they're a hard worker. I think every business needs and underestimates the value of a grinder. They're typically very, very hard workers. My goal with grinders, when I come across one, is I want to try to be able to open their mind up a little bit more towards being more of a finder. And that leads me to the finder. These people actually are just fantastic at acquiring new business, making new relationships. Their strong suit is not always closing the sale, but more about being the introductory part of the sales pitch and the team. And maybe this person isn't afraid to get out there in public and go, balls to the wall as a brand representative. And then the binder salesperson is somebody that just really also chugs along, not particularly a high performer, but everybody gets along with the binder. The binder isn't necessarily flashy. The binder isn't somebody who has to stand out a whole lot because generally they're just a very well-liked salesperson. And I hope as we're talking about these, you're either imagining yourself, and I want you to find yourself in these 4 characters. But I also want you to think about someone that you know who fits these characteristics. And then lastly, number 4, the minder is the person, I would call this the mom or dad salesperson, the leader, and they're really that expert problem solver on the team. Whenever you have a problem, you might go to this particular person. They're particularly a leader in that sales field, and they're also just a really fair-minded person. They don't typically run hot. They're not super aggravated at things. They just keep a level head at all times, and the whole purpose is they want to make sure that everybody's customers are taken care of. So what do y'all think about this thus far? Cool, right? Very interesting. All right. So now I want to know about you guys. So I'm actually going to call on Dylan first. Dylan, what type of salesperson do you think you are out of the 4? Ooh. Oh my gosh. Hey, Olivia. I'm so glad you're here. You think you're a finder. And why do you think you're a finder, Olivia? Okay. Oh, I'm so glad to hear you say that. For those of you who don't know, Olivia and I work together at Costantino. In fact, I think I was your first trainer, maybe. I think I was your first trainer. So yeah, I would say, what I remember about you is you were always game to be able to get out there and talk to everybody. But you're a little bit of a binder too, is what I would see for you. I think that you're really good at bringing people together and holding people together, and you're that person that everybody enjoys. So maybe your main point is finder, but you've got some of these other ones too. All right, Victoria, what do you think? What are you? That's good. That's a great characteristic to have. I identify with that as well. Like I'm willing to take the loss if it means that I'm helping the customer. And that's what also makes us a little bit of minders, Victoria, because we're really more about good customer service than winning the sale, so we're kind of like I'd like to think I'm a good mommy salesperson. What about you, Davida? Good. That's okay. I'd say you're definitely a grinder. I'd say, you're still young in the business. And so like maybe seeing bigger picture or larger opportunities isn't always like so right there for you, but you're like chugging it out, right? Yeah. And that's fine. We're going to, as we grow in our sales careers, we're going to change. And the point of this presentation is I want to enlighten you on maybe some of your weaknesses and where you might want to try to do some changes. So that's, that's the point of everything that I'm doing with my book and everything else. So, all right. So now it's time for us to think about the problems that we have as salespeople and our weaknesses, which is really hard. Most of the time in my few years in the world, one of the biggest ones that I come across in training people is lack of time management and organization. Those two go hand in hand. I also tend to come across salespeople who are afraid to do things. They've got this deep-rooted little bit of fear, just shyness even. And sometimes it's hard for salespeople to be successful. And you got to learn to have that confidence, right? Get out there. And initiative is huge. We have to love what we do. We have to, want to get in that car every day and go out and knock on those people's doors. Because I especially have had those days where I just want to sit behind the wheel and not get out of the car. What else do you guys have? What do you think we're going to talk a little bit more about weaknesses, but anything, one major thing that you think is a problem you want to fix? Go ahead, Olivia. Okay. Yes, that's good. Staying positive and that hurts. We all know it. I think that pain. It's in my chest. It's in my chest and in my stomach when I get rejected or something negative. I'm ooh, and how to move on past that. Anybody else? Okay, Davida agrees with that. Victoria, go ahead. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad. Well, when you signed up for the class, you should have gotten a coupon to download my workbook. This is the workbook that I designed for the Art of Selling seminar, but it also is going to pair very well with this seminar. And if you don't have it today, that's fine. You can pull this out later and do it on your own. But you should have gotten a copy for a free download. And if not, you can get with me after the class today, and I'll make sure that you get a copy. But the workbook that I created starts out with us thinking about our mindsets of change. And Davida, you're going to see this on Thursday because this is just a big part of every program that I'm going to do. And I think if we really want to make changes in our careers, we have to get into that mindset of what we're doing wrong. So since this is the first time we're doing this together, I'll just go through these questions and you guys can think about your answers, because this isn't something to embarrass you or to call you out on a weakness. It's just for you to be thinking about change. So does everybody on the call use some kind of share folder or email folders? What about red receipts? Yep, there we go. Yeah, sometimes these are all my good tips too. And then saving your routes for future reference so that you can help save yourself some time. Olivia, I hope you do this. Professional routing, good. Is there a way that your company or your brand could improve its appearance? Feel free to think about it. Yes. You guys can make those notes. And how often are you going outside to target your customer bases? Olivia Cosentino, I'm sure you're at least 3 days a week. Victoria, what about you? Wow. Every single day. Well, we need to work on that because I'm not sure 5 days is great, but we'll talk about that. And Davida? On the road 4 to 5. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay. All right. Office time. Yeah, good question. Let's keep going and we'll get a chance to identify that if you don't mind. And when you do cold calls, what is your preferred method? Awesome. And Davida, I know we talked about this a little bit when I saw you last week. You find that you just do cold call walk-ins, right? At first? Yeah. Cool. That's all right. We're gonna work on some of these little techniques. Empathy is really something that we don't often think about in selling. And I want you to consider that. A lot of people refer to me, if they've met me in the stone business, they call me the stone whisperer. I had a salesperson who used to tell me she didn't understand how I was so intuitive, and it comes from being empathetic and turning on my feelings. So you can think about that. And then the same thing we'll talk about, I teach in my book, is about chameleoning and making yourself presentable towards the client that you're trying to appeal to. Just for time, and since this is the first time I've ever done this here, this really was built for my full service seminar. We'll just keep kind of going through it. I appreciate you guys being flexible with me. We'll talk more about follow-up and any post-sale foundations that you might use later. So if you did have a workbook in front of you today, I would love for you to write down, like based on just even going through the mindset quiz, talking about the 4 types of salespeople, my goal would be today for you to write down the 5 traits that you would want to improve about bringing and stepping up your game. And you guys can think about that on your own time. We don't have to talk about it here today. So I want to get towards giving you some solutions, some more ideas. And now that I've entered open this presentation a little bit in a negative way. It's not meant to be negative, but thinking about yourself as just needing for improvement isn't always fun. But how does that make you guys feel? Do you feel more empowered actually, that you might know that you have some areas you could work on? Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we always have to be a little self-analytical in order to keep moving forward. Yeah. And I know from personal experience, I have to want to change. I think that's the biggest thing. And I've been tasked with training salespeople who really aren't interested in making changes in their lives or their work ethic. And if you don't have that will, like yourself, if you don't get the whole picture of like why that's going to be something you want to do, then it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be something that you're going to implement. So I find that changing and thinking about it in this way hopefully will help you want to put some new actions into place. So that brings us to stage 2, which is going to be talking about how to find some solutions to those characteristics you want to improve. I believe that one of the key roles in changing your life as a salesperson is better time management and organization. And so I've got some practices that I've been developing for many, many years that really do work. And whether this is for managers or individuals, take a hard look at yourself in your all cases and try to reassign some of your core values to being more of the salesperson that you want to be. And what will help hopefully earn you some more money down the road too. So let's go in and look at that. The first thing is about this organization. How many of you are familiar with time blocking or know what I'm talking about? Great. That's good to hear. I agree. Davida, is this something that you ever used before? Yeah, very true. So a real time block, if we were doing the Art of Selling workshop that I've got, that's okay presentation, I would actually have you list out like your entire calendar, maybe from even last week, not just yesterday. But really look at that, and then I would have you go back at the 12 things that you did on Friday, and then rank them in order of priority. And the reason I would want you to do that is because most people are missing time to do certain tasks, like follow-up, which we'll talk about a little bit later, like checking your missed leads, where they might be hiding, which I'll show you here shortly. And then, in general, following a guideline for how to keep in touch with your customers. When I first started as a sales rep, as an outside sales rep, I had to break down my entire week with a 30-day calendar. And so it all started right here, just like the screen. And there was no such thing, like we had a CRM back then, and this was like 2010. But it wasn't as fancy as some of the CRMs and stuff that are out there today. And I had no account lists. I was brand new, so I had no targets, and I had to kind of just like create my own way. So what I ended up doing is using the days of the week and dividing them into cities, and making sure that each month I would go back and look at the previous month so I didn't miss anybody. So I didn't have a CRM to show me that it had been like 3 months since I had been to Charlottesville. So really taking a big picture look at your calendar and how you're applying yourself is important, and scheduling blocks of time. So in this case, I have an annotation on this. I'm so used to other programs, but that's okay. Can you guys see my mouth? Just curious. No, I don't think so. There, now you can. Okay, perfect. So, an adequate time block would be like literally setting Monday morning from 9 until noon. Let's do that. And saying like on Monday mornings from 9 until noon, I am going to X. I'm going to go through my accounts and read the notes, or I'm going to schedule follow-up time from the week before, or I'm going to follow my SNAP methods. And it's literally blocking out sections of your calendar so that you do make time for some of the things that we're going to talk about as we move on. All right. So, in your workbooks, when you get them, you can make notes for yourself about, some things that you'd like to change in your time management skills. But this is a very short version of the overall picture, and maybe you'll pick up my book. There's a lot of good tips in there. With CRMs, now that most people are using them, right? Does everybody on here have a CRM? Everybody's using them nowadays. No, Olivia does. Okay. Yeah, that makes it tough. So Victoria, you're a perfect example of like utilizing that 30-day calendar in this method. Because if you don't have one and you've got to like make your own way, staying on top of tracking your customer visits, it makes your life a little bit more difficult. What about you, Davida? Do you guys have a CRM? Okay, perfect. So the whole point of those CRMs are to take your client lists, keep them in a happy little place, and track your sales so that you can know what customers have purchased before. If you use a CRM for outside sales calls, you should be able to put your notes in there in order for you to be able to look up the last time you visited them and what you guys discussed, so that the next time that you see them, you can walk in that door and immediately just go right into, well, hey, Bill, how did that kitchen project go that you were working on when I saw you last month? You know, you should be able to like pick that conversation right up, and then hopefully also have a lead ready to qualify and try to get them into a sale. These are the points of CRM. These are why we have them. It helps build your organization. A good CRM system will tell you that it's been too long since you visited X customer. And that's one of the biggest time lapses that we forget. Like maybe we got busy one day and we just drove past that little guy down the street, because we were in a hurry to get home for the day. And maybe it's actually been like 6 months since you've seen that person. Clients and accounts should never go, especially depending on their category of account, they should never go too long without having a visit or at least a call, a touch from their salesperson. So a lot of people aren't using their CRMs correctly. And, I talk about a little bit more of that organization later on, but you want to kind of like look at that data and try to make it work for you. How can you take all of this beautiful information that you're plugging in all the time and turn it into sales for yourself? So who's monitoring the key points here? If you're not doing your due diligence as a salesperson and entering those notes in that data, then there's nothing for your bosses to know, or superior, or maybe even when you get promoted and the person that comes behind you. And these data entry points of keeping track of your systems are actually what's going to help prioritize training points for management going on. So this slide is actually going to be more for like managers than actual salespeople themselves, because they need you guys to be inputting this data so that they can read and write and understand what's going on the firing lines. But I always look at CRMs as a place of like, where do I want to be too? We have to think about where are we going to find those new target accounts. Another key weakness that I've noticed when I train salespeople is that they get stuck in the same routine over and over again, calling on the same account. And they're not really traveling with their eyes open and trying to find new business or new opportunities to put the brand out there. So I hope I'll bring some light to you about where do you find a bigger audience for your brand. Now, in your all's case, and this is great that this call is all stone people, which I love, because these are our targets. This is it. Sometimes I do calls for other communities. I haven't done this particular one yet for anybody, but I'm so glad that my first people are you guys, because these are our people. This is where we want to be. We want to live somewhere in these fields. Olivia, now when you're with Constantina now, you're a builder primarily, right? Now? And that's it. You don't do any more, no commercial, no residential, just builders. Okay. And Victoria, what about you? What's your target customer base right now? Oh my goodness, young lady, so much. But I feel your pain. That's the way I was. It was like for me at Triton, I kind of had to handle it all. And my target audience or customer was fabricators. I didn't have any designers. And so if they did commercial, I did commercial. If they did luxury residential, I had to do it. You know what I mean? So there's a little bit of everything. Davida, do you have a specific target, or are you a little everything? Oh, of course. That's okay. Okay, this is funny, as I designed this thing in Canva, so this is why you do test runs, because now my formatting is off and that's going to drive me insane. But I like to describe networking as filling in the hole in the donut, right? So a lot of times we are moving all out here, and we're traveling around, but we can't really even see what we might be missing that's in the middle of the donut. So I actually designed a way of finding new business and thinking outside of the box with your networking in order to find new clients. Now, Olivia, in your case, I'll just do you do any networking with your? Okay. And so with the builders, is there like an HBAR, like a home builders association or something? Oh, out there it's BIA. Okay. So you got to show up and do all the things. Mm-hmm. Do you have any women in building groups out there? Great. Perfect. Yeah, I would say for you, adding on like another networking community where you're getting involved with more women on that side of the business would probably be helpful for you, just because it's such a male-dominated side, the builder industry. And then how do you find like those designers for the builders? I think real estate's a good angle for you too. That's awesome. Awesome. What about you, Victoria? Do you do any networking groups around Richmond? The NKBA? Okay, got it. Yeah, this is missed. I'm glad we're talking about it then, because honestly, this has been huge for me in my career. Not that I know you guys don't want to be just like me, but the whole step of the way, every single year, and I'm always looking for new memberships. Right now, my connections with NAWIC, National Association of Women in Construction, have been huge for me. Branching out to other groups, so I'm always looking for diverse communities, and like finding something like Metropolitan Business League was good for me because it's a diverse community that I honestly don't align with at all, other than the fact that I own my own business. And when I go to those meetings, the community looks very different than me, and it's just very different. But you know what? It's been spectacular. The group itself has a whole diverse community, and I've already found a couple of people who need my help, who actually need me to teach them how to sail. And it's a group that I never would have branched out before. So in my book, I have a strategic plan on how to map out finding some additional networking groups, but I do hope that you guys will consider that as maybe one of your goals to fill. Davida, do you want to chime in here? I know you're a part of NKBA. All that you've done so far. Right. Some other ones in Richmond that have been helpful for me in the past when I was doing commercial, of course, AIA, ASID, and Home Builders Association of Richmond is very good. Trying to think of any others locally. HBAR was huge, and it's a hard network to get. Oh, and I just met some ladies. They're starting a Women in Buildings. I was invited to attend a meeting on September 19th. So they found me because of all the Camp NAWIC publicity and reached out, and they're inviting me to come and join in on the group. And they don't even sell stone anymore. So, but it was really interesting to know that they're starting that community and have more people that are just women part of the building industry. Okay, moving along. I don't want to stay here forever. And it's already, actually, this is taking a lot longer than I thought. So you guys are going to help me have to trim some of this down. Cold calling is really about overcoming fear. And Olivia hit some really great points that I hope if you need, you can take away as well. In this group, one of the biggest thing is to be prepared. Before you cold call in any situation, I suggest doing research, like being a little mini FBI agent and trying to find a name, any name, find a name to go in and ask for, because just having even the wrong name is sometimes better than having no name at all. And Yes. And then this page is actually directly out of my book, you guys. I talk a lot about limbic resonance. This is actually not my term. It came from somebody who's way smarter than me. I've got that quote in the book. But essentially, we want to try to create this like symphony of exchange, which is connecting with that person who's behind the desk. And sometimes that is an awful like gatekeeper. Finding the connection with the person at the desk is like your step one. And being an observationist about what's going on in the room. Is there any flowers on her desk or some kind of piece of artwork? Is there a football helmet or something? And like we have to in 5 seconds be able to walk in and grab that piece of information, process it, and spit it out in a way of connecting with that individual. And if you can think about this consciously as you go through your day, I promise you, I can guarantee you will have better connections on your cold calls. And if you can't find it when you walk in the door and your observation lacking from around the room, then you probably should have done a little bit more research before you got in there, because we just need to know whether it's looking them up on Facebook and maybe they went to the race last weekend, or maybe you can catch a picture of a kid's birthday party, a photo or something, and anything that you can throw out there to get yourself a warm response will help prevent a cold call from actually ever being cold. And this, my friends, is how you get around the gatekeepers. And raise your hand. You don't have to raise your hand. You guys aren't on camera. But I can tell you how many gatekeepers I've had to try to get around in my life. And it's the worst. They make you feel, you get that yucky feeling inside. How many times have you been shut down and had to tuck your tail between your legs and walk out the door because you couldn't get in to see that person? If you follow these tips about finding a connection before you walk in the door, you will be more likely to get right past these people. Okay, moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about follow-up. I heard some people mention that that's their biggest weakness. Agreed. This is, in my opinion, the number one failing point of all salespeople. And I'm here to tell you, and I write about it in the book, that there is never enough follow-up to complete it. I mean, you can't follow up too much, in my opinion. Whether it's reconfirming an appointment before the appointment happens, thanking people for the appointment after the appointment happens, after a sales pitch, after a marketing email, and you just want to check in with somebody to make sure that they got it. These are all good suggestions of making follow-up work for you. But I will give you guys my secret tip of guaranteed finding lost sales if you will check your sent mail, and you will set aside 1 hour and time block 1 hour every week to just go through your sent emails from the week before, I promise you, I can literally guarantee you, you will find missed follow-up opportunities and most likely a missed opportunity for a sale. We just, as humans, we just keep going forward and we keep going to the next day and the next call and the next appointment, and we forget, right? We forget what we've actually already done, sent, until like for some reason you're like, oh shit, I forgot, I gotta follow up with this person. So this is where I want you to like consider putting some time blocking in place and allow yourself the grace to create time for follow-up. Setting time aside to go through those social media channels of those networking groups, finding little nuggets of information to make your connection stronger and have your follow-up work for you. So this is a quote from the book. It's basically just about, it's actually a situation that happened with me before, and I would just be on top of somebody over and over again. Did you call? Did you call? Did you call? And the longer this particular salesperson would wait before she would just make the call, the less of the chance that she would ever close the sale. You know, when we have a conversation with someone and they give us a clue, like, Allison, I want that bundle, but I can't buy it today. I need to wait till Friday. I need to know from you ladies, how would you set yourself up for good follow-up skills based on this conversation right here? He wanted to wait until Friday. Good, very good, yes. But you're missing I think my biggest point here is, how do you remember? Yes. So, you know, one thing, I don't have my phone's actually recording us right now. So, but you know, if you were to check in my phone, like I'm always using my calendar to put little notes in there. So at 4 p.m. on Thursday, I would have put a note in my calendar that said, follow up with Miguel. Because I know my own weaknesses. If I want to be one of all of those salespeople types that we talked about in the beginning, I got to make sure that I don't forget. And then, because otherwise I'm just going to be this grinder that's just getting these bits and pieces. I've got to be able to go after the sale and follow up for it. So, sent mail. It is my biggest takeaway, and it is a gift to you all. You're getting this class for free, but I promise that it will change your life. So knowing your unique value proposition is also a great way to make a difference in your cold calls, making sure that you are building a team with your clients, and knowing these types of things are going to help you change your game. Reading body language. Sorry that I got to kind of rush through this, but we're running out of time and I've taken too long. That's good to know. I talk about this also in the book. And I wanted to get to stage 3 real quick so we can go through some actions that you guys can take. And again, in the workbook, you'll have some opportunities to do this on your own, or you can attend one of my bigger workshops. Mastering your pitch. If you know your unique value proposition, you'll be able to identify some key points that you need to make whenever making a sales pitch about your product or your company. Make sure you're including action questions. Whenever you're having a conversation with a client, you always want to try to close the conversation with, what are we doing? Can I deliver it next Thursday? In fact, I'll tell you guys another little secret. A lot of times I don't even ask. I definitely throw it in there. I don't blindside them, but I say, okay, Miguel, I'm going to deliver that bundle on Friday. I'm not even going to have to wait until Thursday to follow up and see if he still wants it. I'm going to close out that conversation with, great, I'll set up your order for Friday. So he doesn't even have a choice. He's getting his bundle on Friday. There was never a reason to have to call him again. Having exactly, perfect. You know, you want to get those action questions in there that aren't open-ended. There's no yes or no here. They have to stop you. And that takes me to my closing system. So if you've ever heard of the ABCs, and this is a big point in my book, always be closing, you know, what that really means is make them stop you from closing. So if you've got a tailored pitch and you are sure that you have merchandised exactly what your customer needs, you know, you really want in your closing system to have them have to stop you from delivering those items. You know, and it is pushy. It's a little pushy, but we can have fun with it. And you know, 9 times out of 10, your customers end up appreciating the fact that you're always on top of their inventory. I didn't talk about merchandising today, but that is a huge topic in my book. That is really, guys, that is how I have taken over the granite business, because I know how to merchandise products. So hopefully you'll be able to come and see me at one of the other talks. Now, how long will resetting your goals take? You know, that is truly up to you. I believe that the training process that I created, which is called the 12-week method, I'm going to play that here without the sound, but this process that really was the idea behind my business as a whole was that any team, no matter the size, could make huge changes within a 12-week timeline, as long as you're setting proper goals and expectations for yourself and resetting those time management and organizational boundaries. And that's literally the whole idea behind my business. So I'm giving away this call today because I did write a book called The Art of Selling. And here's the pitch. I wouldn't be a good salesperson if I didn't actually tell all 3 of you about this amazing book that I wrote with lots of these tips and more. And it's also a workshop. It's not available right now on Amazon, but it will be soon. And if you didn't get a copy of that free workbook, you can use your phones and scan, maybe you're on the phone, I hope not, but if you're on your work computer, you can use your phone and scan us for a free download of the book, or you can just write down the code, free workbook, and get the code so that you can work on this on your own. And then, oops, good to know this formatting didn't work either. I'll follow up with you guys in an email if you don't mind. I'd also love for you to take a few minutes and write me a review and what do you think about this call, the problem with salespeople. And I'll leave the last 3 minutes for any questions you might have.